going to talk you through setting up a Gigbar Move from Chauvet DJ as a fixture profile in MaestroDMX. So the Gigbar Move is a wonderful fixture, and the reason we're going to set this one up is because it has a bit of everything. It's got two power lights that are RGB UV. It's got two movers with color wheels. Both those movers have pan and tilt control. Has a laser. Also has derbies with red, green, and blue color options. As well, there are strobe lights on the front that are UV and white that are dimmable. So lots of great features on this fixture that will give you decent understanding of how to set up a fixture in Maestro. Okay, so we'll jump over to the Maestro app. Under the Fixture Profiles tab, we are going to add a new fixture. So before we do that, the Gigbar Move does already exist in the MaestroDMX fixture library. However, just to show you how to add a fixture, we're going to add it again. So you don't need to add this fixture when you get the box because it's already in the library. So we'll add a new fixture. We're going to call it Gigbar Move. I'll put user at the end because I'm creating it. And that's from Chauvet DJ. Now I'll save that. Now we need to add a mode. So we're just going to do the 35 channel mode. Enter that here, save the mode. And now we're going to be displayed with 35 channels of nothing. So we're going to fill all of these out. So it starts with the par 1 red. And just for your info, I'm looking at the Chauvet DJ Gigbar Move 35 channel spec while I do this. If you want to follow along, it's available on the Chauvet DJ website. Okay, so par 1 is red. So under our type, we're going to select this drop down and select red. You can also just hit R and it will jump to red and hit enter. And now channel 1 is assigned to the red attribute. So now Maestro knows that red channel information can get sent to this first channel. And then next we have par 1 green, and I will select the green attribute. And then you guessed it, we have par 1 blue, and I'll select the blue attribute. So now we have RGB control for par 1. There's also a UV channel. And I'll select the UV attribute. And then something called the par 1 strobe rate. This actually governs the master dimming of the par 1 light. So I'm going to connect a strobe attribute to this. And as you see over this side, there is a thing called value. And you don't see those on the RGB or UV channels. You only see that on channels where you can set a static value. So I can go ahead and edit that value, and I'm going to edit it, and it needs to be set to 127 for that par light to turn on full. So I've saved that. Now this updates to show you that the static value on this channel is 127. You'll see that a number of the attributes that we set up in this fixture have the ability to set a static value. The ones that don't are the attributes that are controlled from the Maestro's autonomous engine. So for instance, strobing is not controlled autonomously by Maestro, but you have to set a static value on it. Okay, so moving along, we've got par 2. Red. I'll set that to red. So I'll just jump ahead here a little bit to repeat what we did for par 1 for par 2. Okay, so our pars are now set up and they will turn on once added to the stage because I've set par 2 strobe rate to 127 as is required in the specification. And on channel 11, we start with derby control. So we've got derby 1 control. So there's a few options here. We can set that to a static value, and you can pick whatever color combination you want for that derby. Or if you want to get a little experimental, you can connect the dimmer to the derby 1 control. So the dimmer channel, if I can find it here, The dimmer channel is essentially just an amalgamation of RGB channels, so it's actually the max of the RGB at any moment, and can be used to control derbies and lasers to keep them in sync with the music. Later on in future software releases, we're going to give you something called effects palettes, which will enable you to set a collection of snapshots of your effects like derbies and lasers, and have those collections be triggered by changes in the music. So you could set this to dimmer. We're going to set it to static for now. And then 12, we've got derby 1 strobe rate. And we'll leave that as static. Then we've got derby 1 rotation. We'll also leave that as a static for now. And I'll copy that, and I'm going to mimic it for derby 2. I'll just speed ahead here. And now we're at laser control. So similar to derby control, the lasers on the Gigbar Move actually look pretty cool when they're connected to dimmer, because they'll pulse with the music and they'll pulse with the RGB changes. That's something you can also do when the fixture's on the stage. However, making the profile, we'll just leave it as static. And then we have laser strobe. Laser pattern macro. And now strobe control. We'll make that a strobe type. And then here we have the white strobe dimmer. So the white strobe are these dots, really bright dots of white light on the front panel. And you can definitely set that to dimmer. I think in the fixture profile that comes with Maestro, it's set to static, but you can change it to dimmer. And that will make those lights on the front panel dim with the music and pulse with the music. It can be set to dimmer or static. You could also play around and like set it to pan and just see what it does. It will be correlated to the music in some fashion. For now, again, we'll just leave this as static, but there's room to play here because the controls parameters that come from Maestro have information in them that are relevant to the music. So you could play around with attaching parameters to different attributes and see what happens. Okay, and then we've got the UV strobe dimmer. Again, you could connect this to the dimmer and get some neat effects, but we'll just make it static for now. And we've got strobe speed. Keep that as a static. And now we're getting onto our moving heads. So we've got moving head pan 1. So this is our first pan channel. Pick pan. And you'll notice here on the details panel, you got width and an offset. So if I edit this, the width is the range that the fixture will move along the pan axis, and the offset is the center point. You can also smooth the movement, and you can also scale it. And you can also invert it. So there's a lot of options here. And then I'm gonna now do the tilt channel. And similar to pan, we have a width and an offset. By default, the MaestroDMX library constrains the widths of all tilts to 50% and the widths of all pans to 25%. You can change it as needed, and the offset is always set to the center. And now we've got moving head dimmer. So this is where you would definitely use dimmer. It will track the RGB components, the brightness of the RGB components, and pulse with the music. And then we have moving head 1 strobe. So this is moving head 1 dimmer. And then we have the moving head 1 color wheel. So So currently, automatic color wheel control is not a feature in Maestro. However, that will be coming very soon next year. So currently, color wheel is a static attribute type that can be edited, and you can set a static value. When effects palettes is released, then you will be able to create different color wheel looks and then have those triggered based on the music. For now, I'll just leave it set as 0. And then we've also got moving head 1 gobo. Similar to color wheel, it also is a static attribute type for now. Okay, so I'll go ahead and speed through the second moving head, which is just a repeat of what's happening on the first moving head. Okay, there we have it. So we have our 35 channel mode of the Gigbar Move fixture. And then the next step is going to be to add this to the stage and use it.